Remember when Friday meant cafeteria pizza? When Silly Putty could lift a comic strip right off the newspaper? Or when carrying a Discman took more skill than carrying a cup of coffee? These are the little things that quietly disappeared, but somehow never left our memories. Some of these you will recognize instantly. Others you probably have not thought about in 30 or 40 years. So let us see how many of these you still remember. For a lot of us, the best part of the whole school week was Friday, because Friday meant pizza day in the cafeteria. It came as a rectangle, with the cheese set in a thin orange grid on top, and that cheese had a mind of its own. Sometimes it slid off in one whole sheet. Sometimes it turned into cheese leather that burned the roof of your mouth. Then there was the chocolate milk in that little carton, somehow better than any milk at home. Nothing else on the menu ever came close. These were the only vitamins that felt like candy. Flintstones Vitamins, the little chewable figures shaped like Fred, Barney, and the whole gang. And that jingle is probably already in your head.
We are Flintstones kids, 10 million strong and growing. We are Flintstones kids, 10 million strong and growing.
You had your favorites. The cherry one always got eaten first, and the chalky ones got left behind. The real problem was they tasted too good. A lot of us snuck extras when Mom was not looking, and plenty of moms ended up hiding the bottle on a high shelf just to make them last. Silly Putty came in that little plastic egg, and you can probably smell it right now. The big trick was pressing it onto the comics in the newspaper, then peeling it back and lifting the picture right off the page. You stretched the faces out long, you rolled it into a ball, you popped the little bubbles in it, and the glow-in-the-dark kind got held up to a lamp, then carried off into a dark room just to watch it shine. Bottle caps were the little candies pressed to look like actual soda tops, and for a lot of us, root beer was the best flavor out there. It really did taste like flat root beer, sweet and a little grainy as it melted on your tongue. Everybody had their order. Root beer first, then cola, then grape, and the rest got left at the bottom. They came in a long paper roll, and plenty of us still grab a pack when we spot one today. You could stand on a Tonka truck and it would not even flinch. Real pressed steel, heavy in your hands, built like it was made to outlast you. There was the dump truck, the crane, the front loader, and whichever one you had, you ran it through the sandbox, left it out in the rain, and dropped it down the stairs. The yellow paint chipped and the wheels got loose, but the thing refused to break. They really did make them to last back then. You could hear those webbed lawn chairs before anyone even sat down. That clicking sound as the aluminum frame unfolded. Every family had a set, with the woven plastic straps in green, white, and yellow. On a hot day, the webbing left deep red lines pressed into the backs of your legs, and they stuck to your skin the second you stood up. After enough summers, the straps wore thin, and sooner or later somebody sat down and went straight through the bottom. It always got a good laugh out of everybody. Before you were allowed anywhere near a real bike, there was the big wheel. You sat low to the ground on that big plastic front wheel, and the sound gave you away every time. That deep plastic rumble down the driveway, loud enough that your dad knew you were tearing off before he even looked up. The whole point was the handbrake. You yanked it, cranked the wheel, and threw the back end into a full sideways slide. Do it enough, and the front tire wore flat on one side, right down to a hole. None of us cared. We just kept riding. The parachute army men gave you one perfect moment, if you were lucky. You wrapped that thin parachute around the little plastic soldier just right, then sent him as high as you could, either with a slingshot or by climbing up somewhere yourself. When it worked, he floated back down, slow and easy, and that felt like a real win. Most of the time, the strings tangled after a few throws, or he got stuck up on the roof or in a tree and stayed there for good. Kids today walk around with unlimited music in their ears. We had a Discman, one CD, and a lot of careful walking. The whole thing worked great, as long as you held it flat and barely moved. Take one wrong step, and the song skipped right over itself. since the early anti-skip feature barely helped, so you carried it in one hand like a tray of soup, walking smooth and slow just to keep the music going. One disc at a time, maybe 12 songs total, and we thought we had it made. Remember the little white snappers you threw at the ground to make that sharp crack? Poppets. Each one had a bit of gravel twisted up in tissue paper, and when it hit the sidewalk, you got that snap and a tiny puff of smoke. You tossed them at your friend's feet to make him jump, and if you were careful, you could unwrap a whole pack and bunch them into one big snapper that went off way louder. And yes, some of us slipped one under the toilet seat and waited. You always knew the overhead projector was on before you even looked up, just from that low hum at the front of the room. The teacher dropped a clear sheet onto the glass, flipped the switch, and a big bright square lit up the pull-down screen. The bulb threw off real heat. The image never sat quite in focus, and someone always asked if this was going to be on the test. A few schools somehow still use them today instead of a PowerPoint. And you remember that groan from the whole class the second the lights came back on. The school dentist would hand out these little disclosing tablets, and within a minute your whole mouth was bright pink. You chewed one up, and wherever you missed brushing, your teeth and gums lit up bright. The taste was awful, and the color did not want to come off, so you scrubbed and scrubbed at the sink. But the best part was everyone turning to grin at each other with pink teeth. Nobody really passed that test, and somehow it was still fun. Just about every kitchen had the same metal dustpan, the heavy stamped kind with a thin rubber lip along the front edge. That rubber strip never lasted. It peeled off bit by bit, and some folks just ripped it the rest of the way and hammered the metal flat so it still worked. You can probably hear it scraping across the kitchen floor right now, and no matter how you swept, that one thin line of dust always stayed behind. So you chased it forward, swept again, and chased it some more. A lot of us had a few tins of General Foods International coffees at home. Cafe Vienna, Swiss Mocha, French Vanilla, with that fancy script on the can that made instant coffee feel like a little taste of Europe. You spooned the powder into a mug, poured hot water over it, and the whole kitchen filled up with vanilla and cinnamon. For a few quiet minutes, an ordinary afternoon felt a little fancier than it really was.
Hey, what do you love about Freshen-Up Gum?
Love that squirt!
What do you love when you bite into one?
Love that squirt!
Freshen-Up was the gum that fought back. You bit into a piece and that liquid gel center burst right out, flooding your mouth before you saw it coming. Spearmint, cinnamon, bubble gum. It did not matter which one you grabbed. That first bite always got you. The catch was the flavor only lasted a few seconds. Then, the whole thing turned into a rock. So some of us popped 2 or 3 at once, just to get one big rush of that gooey center. A pack like that never lasted very long. The whole point of a Slinky was getting it to walk down the stairs. The metal one actually did it, tumbling end over end like it knew where it was going. The cheap plastic ones never worked the same, and everybody knew it. But one little kink, and that was the end. Bend it wrong even once, and your Slinky was a tangled mess for good. And if you ever wrapped one around your arm, you found out the hard way that it took a few arm hairs with it on the way off. Every kid back then had a love-hate thing with the little bottle of Mercurochrome. Some called it the red medicine. Some called it monkey blood. But everybody knew the sting. Mom would dab it on a scraped knee with that glass wand, and you would blow on it like crazy. Because it burned worse than the cut itself. It stained your skin bright red for days, so the whole block could see exactly where you wiped out. And here is the kicker. The stuff actually had real mercury in it. Somehow, we all turned out fine. If you could not get a Game Boy, you had one of these instead. The Tiger Handheld Games, those flat little gadgets with one game built in and nothing else. Everybody had a different one. Maybe it was Double Dragon, maybe Lion King, maybe The Little Mermaid. And you played that single game until you knew every move. The screen was hard to see, the controls were stiff, and half the games were honestly pretty bad. But on a long car ride, that one tiny game was the whole world. Thanks for watching, and thank you for being here with me. Let me know in the comments which one brought back the most memories. I always enjoy reading your stories. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to Memory Trails. Until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next video.